Hello, everyone, and welcome to this new series of Facebook Lives at Hudson Films. So, I'm really excited about this series because what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be talking with lots of different business owners, people who create content. Maybe they've started, maybe they haven't. I'm really excited about today's Facebook Live with Rifka Lebowitz. So, really, if you're someone here in Israel that has ever had any questions about money, which is really all of us, she doesn't really need an introduction. We've all heard of her, but still, I wanna welcome Rifka. Thank you so much for coming. And if you want to start by giving any introduction about yourself that people may or may not already know.
Hi, first of all, thank you so much for having me here. I'm Rifka Lebowitz. I'm a financial consultant. I run Living Financially Smarter, which has a Facebook group, which has almost 30,000 members, which is why I think Kelly Sheva thinks people probably know my name, because I'm out there answering questions, or sometimes not answering questions, but certainly running that group for 30,000 Anglos in Israel.
Amazing, amazing. It's such a big number to think about that you already have 30,000 people who are, probably listening every time, there's a new grant that comes out. Obviously, during coronavirus, a lot of us were just waiting for the next bit of information that will come out. How do we apply and what do we do and what's the latest? And even outside of Corona, I think a lot of people are listening. So I would love to know, just to start off, since this is all going to be about growing your business, and then from my end, I'm going to try and give as much as I can from the storytelling point of view and how content plays a role. But I would love to know how you grew your business because that Facebook group is really quite impressive.
Yeah, thank you. So I opened the Facebook group many years ago. Like Facebook was still small, relatively, probably 10 years ago. Um, it was advice that I got from a marketing person. So advice we get from marketing people, storytelling, whatever, could be worth gold. Unbelievable. So I opened the group thinking, my mom will join, maybe some friends will join. Thinking when we got to 100 people, like, wow, I'm quoted in an article. When we got to 5,000, that maybe 6,000 is the most it could possibly grow. Now we're at 29 plus. And I just didn't see how Facebook would grow. But it's been a tremendous given my business a tremendous boost and a tremendous amount of growth from my business has come from there. When you're the expert and you're out there and you're answering questions and people can see that you know your stuff, it's almost a no-brainer to then come to you and be like, oh, well, we know you from Facebook, so we'll ask you the question.
Yeah,
So
totally. I think
yeah.
that's one of the keys that everyone's curious or really trying to do. How do I position myself as the expert? And it's amazing that I think that you got into this whole, Facebook group before. Nowadays, I feel like that's one of the common things that people tell people to do. If they want to be positioned as the expert, you open a Facebook group. But it's amazing in there when everything was just building and everything was just growing.
Right.
So
That was
I
very
want
blessed for
to,
that. Sorry. Yeah.
yeah.
Go
No,
ahead.
no, it's fine. I'm curious, when you started the group, where you were in your business development. Were you just starting out? Had you just sort of shifted? I know you had a shift in your career where you were working in sort of more of your standard job, and then you shifted into financial advising.
Right. So I was a portfolio manager, and then I was a banker managing investments. And then when I left that to do personal finance, it wasn't that long later that I opened the Facebook group, maybe 2 years later.
Mm,
So my business was at the beginning, I had some clients, I was advising some people, but not on the scale I have now. Definitely not.
right, right. So do you think that was something that really helped you? Like, would people start messaging you and then, hire you to do certain things? How did that actually result in growth for you, do you think?
So I've been very um, sort of in the back burner from the point of view of I don't go out there and yell at my group, hire me. Like that's not my style. I'm here to help you. I help people. I help people, and people are like, and then when it comes to them needing advice and someone's like, oh, go to Rifka Lebowitz, they're like, oh, I know her. She helped me with something or she answered a question or whatever. So I think a lot of it came from that, like not the selling myself at all, not yelling I'm the best this or that, like really not, just being there, being real, giving my values over, giving my lessons over on the group over and over again, and it establishes you as an expert if you really know your stuff. Obviously, if you're not an expert, you're not going to be established as one. But if you really know your stuff, it really established you as an expert. And I got in on time, as you said, like that was a big key. I think if I was starting now, I don't know if I'd be getting to the 30,000 people. I don't know, but starting when I did, it's really grown.
Yeah, amazing. Amazing. And it's probably also helped you to see where everyone's minds are at just by seeing the questions that come in on a regular basis and what people want to know, what they don't know. I'm sure it also does that for you.
Totally right. Like I see now that we're having so many people looking at Aliyah join the group, because people ask like 3 questions when they join the group. And I see the amount of Olim are like clueless about how to live in Israel, clueless how to make it in Israel. That's what they're answering when I'm saying, what are your financial questions? So I started a monthly class for people making Aliyah on how to create their own budget, because I saw the need from the Facebook group.
Mm. Yeah, that's amazing. It's like this access to what the questions, the burning questions.
I think we lost each other for a moment there. We'll get back in a moment. Okay, anyone watching this, we'll get back in a moment. I'm sure Elisheva will get back on.
Okay, sorry. I think we went off for a minute. It might have been my fault, but looking like we're back. Hopefully people are still with us. Okay, my apologies for
Okay.
this is the fun of doing a live, right? You might get kicked off, you might come back on, nobody knows what's gonna happen. Okay, thanks and everyone who stayed on. Okay, so now my next sort of question in your business development, which maybe it might be harder because it's very hard to pinpoint why this happened and why this happened. But outside of the Facebook group, as your business developed, can you think of any key things that maybe hooked you up a notch? Was it simply just being there and continue to work? Or do you think that there was something else that helped you grow and grow and grow?
So I think, and this is to do with like, the financial stuff that I do in business, also the scaling, the ability to get out there to lots of people and not just do one-on-one. So I wrote a book. So that also got me out there. 1,000 Olim got the book for free in 2019 or 2018. I don't remember which year. We got it funded. Every Ole that made Aliyah got the book. So everyone's, reading the book that Rifka Lebowitz wrote, a very helpful book about banking in Israel. Videos, just getting out there, explaining to people how to, pay their cleaners bituach lomi, how to get different tax things, like just videos. Being out there meant people could just watch and connect. So I think those were 2 of the big things that really made a difference.
Yeah, definitely. It's a question of being consistent, I think, and then continuing to create content.
Right.
So you mentioned videos. Now, obviously, video is my business, but I'm really curious if you had noticed at all what impact you think that video had over the other types of content or marketing that you might have created, if you noticed it at all.
So I think, just as an example, I went live on my group last week, and somebody who was been on the group for I don't know how long wrote, "Oh, it's so nice to see your face after, like, to see you live after all your posts." And I think they just connect with you differently when you see someone's face, when you see
Mm.
their mannerisms, when you see what kind of person you're talking to. I think that, like, oh, like I met Rifka, or I met Elisheva or whatever. It just does feel more personal.
Yeah, definitely. I think you can have that sort of personal connection at every level of your marketing funnel, let's say. So even if, let's say, you want to post pictures with text to show what you're doing. So a lot of people, their first step when they start creating content, so they might do it with stock footage, because it's an easy thing to do. I don't want to take pictures of myself. Nobody wants to put their face on when they're first starting
Right.
out. And then you notice that in pictures, when you take pictures of yourself, even if they're not as fancy as the stock photos, you get better feedback because people like seeing you. And I think that's also the same thing with video. If you can see someone moving, talking, you can see that they seem kind, or maybe they seem casual, or maybe they seem like a person I would want to hire to do X, Y, and Z. And I think that's really the goal of video, that can help a business grow. And then even within video, my whole thing that I try to give over to people is that, on one level, yes, any video is good and any video of your face is good, but there's also, what I try and share with people is that there's, a way you can even make it more personal. What you're saying is that by showing your face to your audience, they feel like they get to know you more. So how about even more so if the video that you're creating is not simply informational, not simply educational, but maybe it also shares a little bit about why you do what you do, why you like helping people, why you got into this field, whatever it is. So part of what I try and do with businesses is that I try and help them to see that that story can also be beneficial to your audience. So I'm curious if you feel like, do you think that you've ever created content that was slightly more personal in that way? Maybe talked about your journey, why you do what you do, anything like that. It doesn't have to be video, it could be content on the whole.
Yeah, so I've shared a few things on the Facebook group, not video, that were more personal, that really struck something with people. Like,
Mm,
I shared that I had a huge, huge, huge fear of public speaking,
mm.
to the point, that Jerry Seinfeld joke that, like, people would prefer to be in the casket than actually giving the eulogy. That was me, like, absolutely total fear of public speaking, video even more so. And I got over that. And I was, going out and talking, giving talks to hundreds of people. And when I shared that part of my journey and how scary that was for me, and that's nothing to do with the financial side that I'm offering people, it really, like, people were really impressed. So many people wrote to me, asked me how I did it, what I did. They really connected with that. Like, oh, she's being vulnerable, or, oh, I have that fear too. How did she get over it? Because she clearly got over it. And I've done that a couple of times where I've written things about my journey into, you know, more into public speaking and more into things that were not in my comfort zone when I left the bank 12 years ago.
Wow, it's amazing. It's really crazy how even something you think, what is this going to have to do with my business and my people? But it just shows you like a little bit here and there. Obviously, we don't want it to be that our business page becomes like therapy for ourselves. But I think that there's a balance there that you can strike where every once in a while, that I think that's what people mean when they talk about what is your personal brand. What aspects of yourself are you deciding that could connect with your audience? And it may not always be directly about money, but it's something that, like you said, it really helps people connect with you.
Right.
And see that you're real, because ultimately people want authenticity. They want to see that people are real. And by the way, I totally relate to that. Like, I'm speaking as a person that, as a living, I put people in front of the camera, and I was so reluctant to put myself in front of the camera. And it couldn't love me, because here I am forcing everyone to be on camera saying, oh no, it's fine, it's not a big deal. And then I saw what torture I was putting them through, and I had to start doing it myself, obviously. But
Right.
so I think that's important. Just to get, I think it's an important thing for ourselves as business owners to get, just to try it a little bit.
I, th- if I can add, so I got over my fear of public speaking, and I, whatever, it's still always there somewhere, but I got over it mostly. And then I decided to do an online course for couples getting married on how to talk about money and how to communicate about money. And I'm like, well, I can talk in public, so for sure I could do videos. Like, what's the difference? And it turned out it's a really different skill. And it's a different comfort zone, because once you get out there and talk in public, you've got people smiling back at you mostly. And it gives you the, whatever to continue. But when you're doing video with no audience, it's a very different feel, and you're sort of looking at the camera and you can see yourself and there's nobody else, so you just start over and over and over. So that also was, a learning curve.
Yeah, it's so funny how in one respect, I also relate to your public speaking, like how many people love public speaking. Probably, Helen Gottstein, and that's it. But it is really hard. But on the one hand, there is this ease to, like, at least I can look people in the eye and I can say, oh, they like that. Oh, they're nodding their head. Oh, they're doing this. And when you're on video, you have to recognize that there is an audience, but they're not there right now. They're going to be there. So it's very awkward, and it takes a different skill. But once you get used to it, so then, you have little things, little tips that can help you sort of get through it. But it's very funny how it is different.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So another question I have is, you mentioned that you did this course and you did it with video, and you've done videos here and there, but the bulk of your video content that you've historically made, what has it been? Has it just been tips and tricks? Has it been helping people when you saw a need? Like, what has been the video content that you've created?
So two things. One is some tips that I put on YouTube. Some tips, as I mentioned, like how to pay your cleaner and how to apply for certain tax things, and one investment video, whatever. There was a webinar and I put there. So there's some videos there that are tips, and the other half of the videos I've done were the videos for this course, and they're sort of more learning and teaching videos.
Right. So the course, I would almost probably put that. I mean, it has to do with marketing, but it's not marketing material per se. It's not. It's video that's there because that's the way that people who buy into the course access the information. But
Correct.
the other things, it sounds like this is informational. This is going to be part of maybe the funnel, or it's just going to be another way for me to get out there. It sounds like to me.
Yeah, it's not really part of the funnel per se,
Right.
because because it doesn't really, the videos were more to help people. They're not for my clients. The clients that I have generally are not the people who need those topics of video. That was more to just be out there and help people.
Right. So your audience, do you have an idea as like the type of things that they would like to see? We mentioned, that stuff might not specifically help them. Not that you have to get so much into your audience if you don't want to, but just curious if you had an idea, like already off the top of my head, if I were to make a video for them, it might look like this. And if you don't, it's totally fine, obviously.
So it'd be interesting, because while a lot of my clients come to me because there's money, whatever, it's coming from a place, a lot of discomfort with money, not because they don't have money necessarily. The opposite. Sometimes it's like, I inherited a lot of money and I don't know how to deal with this, or I'm overwhelmed by the money, or open a business and I'm great at what I do and I'm beginning to make money, but I don't understand like how it all pulls together. So I think a lot of, if I were to do something for my audience, possibly, I mean, you're asking a difficult question here, but possibly.
No, it's totally on the spot. And obviously I'm here to give you feedback on what I might think, if they were my audience, but.
Right. Possibly it would be more about like being more comfortable with what you have, whatever it is, being comfortable with the fact that your business is successful and you don't know how to deal with the money, or being comfortable with the fact that you got a lot of money, or you're struggling with overseeing different financial things. Like, it would be a different aspect actually to what I've created until now.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Yeah, I think that's first of all, that first phrase that you said is a really great point, that you think about what are they struggling with most, and then how can I answer that thing? And I think that also ties a little bit back into what we were talking about before, which is when when we're a little bit vulnerable or we put ourselves out there a little bit. So it really speaks to people emotionally, and then they connect with you more. So I think also it's the same thing, even though we're not talking about you and your vulnerability, we're talking about our audience, but seems like that there's a big opportunity there to sort of emotionally connect with your audience. And again, when I say emotionally connect, sometimes people, they get it a little bit confused. They think that that means you have to be crying, that there has to be, tears here, but really, like, it can be many emotions. We can be happy emotions, excited emotions. There are obviously lots of ways to emotionally connect. It doesn't always have to be sad, but it sounds like that there's an opportunity there that you can. I think that that's a really also relatable feeling that many people have, not just people that move to Israel, although it really includes them a lot. Is this sort of just like a lot of fears around money,
Yeah.
and I think that financial and business advisors are maybe they also have fears, but they seem like the only people that don't have fears around money because they know sort of how to deal with it in a certain way. So that's definitely something that I think that there's a lot of potential there to emotionally connect with your audience if it's done in the right way.
Thank you.
Yeah. So did you ever think about, now let me ask you this, I guess, after all of this talk about why it's good to emotionally connect, why it's good to, show your face, all of that, and what video has the power to do, at least when it comes to business growth. So would you possibly ever see in the future creating some video content that maybe just a little bit showed aspects of more about you and why you do, what your business is? Like, can you see that speaking to your audience at all?
Yeah, I actually think it would. I think the fear that you mentioned, like, people have embarrassment a lot of time, like even embarrassment that they have money that can be embarrassing. It doesn't sound like embarrassing, but sometimes that's embarrassing too. And they have this embarrassment around money, and they have this fear sometimes, or just this disorganization or whatever. And like, I think if they heard my story, I think they would connect more. And also, like, I wanted to do this when I finished high school. Friends are all discussing, what do you want to do? This one wants to be a lawyer, and this one wants to be a get in it. And I'm like, I want to help people with their money. Like, that's not the standard answer. But I just always felt like very, very much that was my calling, and that's what I should be doing.
Wow, amazing. And now you're doing it.
That's right.
Now you're doing it. Amazing. Okay, great. Well, look, I totally think that I learned a lot. It was really, really interesting to hear your story. I knew that you sort of had these different career paths, but it was really nice to hear sort of how you came into it, how you grew your business. Very inspiring, I think, not just for me, but probably a lot of people out there. And do you have any, final thoughts before we wrap up here today?
First of all, thank you. I do think, as much as people have a fear of video, it's the thing now, and it's important. No matter what field we're in, if we're business owners, we have to stretch ourselves in various directions. And for some people, that's with money. Like, they're like great at what they do, but they're awful with money. So that's what I'm there for. And then some people, it's like me, like, need to get myself out there on video, even though I don't enjoy it. So sometimes we do things we don't enjoy, and we find that it's actually okay. It's not as scary as we thought, whether it's money or whether it's video.
Yes, I completely agree. Well, thank you for coming on here, even though video is not your favorite thing. I really appreciate it. This is like speaking and video at the same time. So see, if Rifka can do it to everyone listening out there, then I'm sure that you can do it too.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming. I really, really appreciate it. Hope everyone enjoyed. And yeah, we'll see you again soon.
Bye. Thank you so
Bye.
much. Bye.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.